Yeah, so that happened. That's real. That's a real thing that really occurred, and we'll really have to deal with it now. Welcome to the Project Game Day post-game show. I'm Glenn. She's Rita. The Ravens lose to the Cleveland Browns 29 to 24 to fall to 5-3 on the season. Their five-game losing streak, or sorry, their five-game win streak is over. That's the reality of the circumstances. There is an awful lot to discuss. Project Game Day is made possible by 1-800-GAMBLER. No cost treatment now available for anyone wanting help with a gambling problem. Femi will join us shortly. I think it's just going to be the Trinity, but I don't think that's going to be a problem because we'll have a lot to yell about. Rita, there's a lot to discuss. You tell me where you want to begin. You got to unmute yourself first if you don't mind.
There's a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot to discuss, Glenn. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to finish. At the end of the day, the this was a collective effort by everybody involved, starting with the head coach, as down to the offensive, defensive coordinator, and even the players. And look, Lamar struggled early. There's two picks that got dropped, luckily, for in Lamar's favor, and one bad pass. But I'm not even going to sit here and blame him because he sat there and did what he needed to do to get his team back into contention. Everything that has happened today, Lamar is the least of my worries. He's the reason why they got ahead at the end of the game to begin with. So whatever, I'm going to give him whatever pass he needs. Everybody else, from Todd Monken, first and foremost, you're on the road in a hostile environment. You know that this defensive front is stout, and you get cute instead of taking the points. And so I would have felt better about them going for it on fourth down, Glenn and Femi, had they called a better play. I'm insulted and disgusted by what they called on that play. So you don't take the points. Okay. Obviously, that's come back to bite you in the ass because I would much, even with the miss, I would much rather have dealt with Justin Tucker potentially needing to kick a field goal to win the game as opposed to needing a touchdown to win the game. But today, Todd Monken got very cute, particularly on short yardage situations. I know that y'all tell me week after week about Derrick Henry. He was not used properly in this game, once again, in my opinion. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with you knowing that this defensive front is manhandling your offensive line and you're doing nothing to neutralize this front. Nothing. Nothing. You keep wanting to push the ball downfield. You're not running the ball. You're not doing enough screens or something. I don't know what's going on the defensive side. I still, while I think that Zach Ord still is in over his head, and I don't think that this gets better anytime soon. I can't put this today solely on him. What happened in this secondary is disgusting. I watched 4 interceptions get dropped. Four.
I think it was
But
more than that.
okay, at least four, and one that could have essentially sealed this game. And as much as Kyle Hamilton did today, they needed him in that moment, and he just couldn't capitalize off of it. This is a collective effort by everybody. And I could continue, but I would be all day. I got to let everybody else have the floor. So I am going to sit back and then just respond when necessary. But y'all get the gist of my point. There's everybody, and I except Lamar. Maybe I'll give Kyle Hamilton a pass, but we really needed him in that moment, so I can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Essentially was terrible today, and that's where I'm at with it.
Femi?
I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, shit. She said it all. Coach Monken's game plan today was fucking terrible. I like. Sorry for cussing, but I don't know what he was doing today. And I give in the micro in the moment, I'm being overly critical. But in the big scheme, I don't have any doubt in his ability. But today, I don't know what they were doing today. Honestly, everyone knows that the Browns excel in two tight ends packed in fullback. That's what they excel in. I don't know why Derrick Henry wasn't in. Why were we not in three wides running inside outside zone? with their smaller personnel. That's their issue, actually. We actually played to their strength, which makes no sense to me. On defense, they have no pass rush. They get no pressure. It's a massive problem. It's going to be a problem. It has to be addressed. And when they bring pressure and they don't get home, there's people wide open running downfield. So I said a couple of weeks ago that this would be a top 10 scoring defense by the time it's all said and done. And they have gone in the other direction since I said that. So I'm not going to make any more proclamations. All I'm going to say is that this defense is not good enough to win a Super Bowl right now. And I remember the 2012 Super Bowl. That defense wasn't good enough either. But you know what? They found ways as the season went on. They kind of limped into the playoffs and they got tight and right and they figured it out. Lamar Jackson is a special talent. Yeah, he threw a couple balls up today, let his guys make a couple plays. But the Rashad Bateman drop, I mean, my God.
Unnecessary.
I don't even know what to say. We gave him so much love the last couple weeks, but that was huge. They made every mistake you can make to lose a game. The Justin Tucker stuff today, I don't know what to say about that. The first drive, you got to take the 3 points, in my opinion, and then to go. Why would you go Wildcat? Like, you take the two guys that make it difficult, and you take one of them out of the play. Derrick Henry's not throwing the football. Now, if you would have thrown the football with him, I would have been like, holy shit, that's brilliant. But that's not what you did. They got way too cute. And I've been saying this for weeks. You don't need to get cute. You are the better football team. You got the better players. And I know they were missing Nate, and I know they were missing Marlon, and I know guys got hurt, but no one cares. No one cares. Like, you have to still play with some modicum of understanding that these are other guys getting paid as well. And you're not just going to run over them. Like, that's not going to happen. And if you do the analysis, in my opinion, you would see that going two tights, two backs, packed in, that's what Cleveland excels at. And you decided to do that today. And then you also decided to keep Derrick Henry off the field when the game was a one-score game. You should have just fed him inside, outside zone all day until they broke, because that would have better served you, in my opinion, than what you chose to do. I am perplexed by the mistakes on offense in regard to drops. I'm perplexed by the play calling and personnel grouping on offense. My expectation for the defense, I thought they would hold them under 20. I thought they'd hold them to 20 or less today. And all the dropped interceptions. I mean, I'm not exaggerating right now, people. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I think the Ravens have 12 dropped interceptions this season. No hyperbole. I think it's 12. And I'm not going to put this on Kyle Hamilton, but damn. It was you needed to make one play to win the game.
And you had it. You had it. It was right there.
And this is the thing. Nobody better say anything about Lamar. Nobody. Nope. It's not on Lamar. Where was the zone read? Where was the power read? Where was the QB keep? Like, where was any of that today? Out of three wides, especially with Derrick Henry. Today was a Lamar takeover game, and he tried to when he got the chance. And he bought so much time on so many plays. But yeah, he didn't get the help today that he needed to get. And I hope they take something away from this. And this is exactly what I was worried about. I never overlooked Cleveland. I did not overlook Cleveland at all. And I knowing that Jameis is a better quarterback than the guy that was playing before. And they were inspired, and they played amazing ball today. And they're the most physical team in the AFC next to the Ravens. And they out-physicaled the Ravens today. They did. And they did it here a year ago when I was pissed off with you at Towson.
Yep.
The exact same fucking thing happened. Like, I can't tell you what I want to do and say right now.
They're winning up front, Femi. It's that they are winning.
Yeah.
They are.
They meaning the Brown. They meaning the Browns.
Correct. They kick this group's ass up
Both
front
sides.
on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
Which is like, there's a lot of things that we can say that's unforgivable, and I get it. Like, the Browns' defensive front, and even though they lost JOK during the course of the game, is really good, and we knew that coming into the season, and it's been disappointing they have gotten so little offensively that their defense hasn't been able to do anything about it. But yet we knew it was a good group, to the point I don't know what the thought process is. A few things that you guys brought up, and I say this, let me remind everybody, you can experience the thrill of live betting with the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. Green Turtle Sportsbooks, the ultimate destination for game day excitement and in-person betting. Two things that stood out significantly. Reeta, this week, I'm happy to have the Derrick Henry conversation. It feels like this team doesn't know when it's supposed to be a Derrick Henry game again. And the notion that you have to be ahead for it to be a Derrick Henry game is batshit to me. And when we talk about are we confident that just the presence of Derrick Henry will prevent them from getting away from the run? Today's a day where I don't know that I'm confident of that, because there is no reason that they scored a touchdown on their penultimate drive of the game, but they did not need to be in hurry up mode at that point. There was no reason for it. There was 5 minutes left in the game. All you were doing was potentially giving the Browns more time at that point.
Yeah, but Glenn, they were in that dead zone time period. I actually liked the hurry up part of it, because your defense was not. Were you convinced the defense was going to stop them? No,
no, that's my point. That's
so
why
I got to assume Femi's point is. Yeah, go ahead, Femi. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Reeta. Make my point for me. Go ahead. No, you're right.
I think I understand what he's saying, which is if they do get the ball back, then he has faith that the offense gets the ball back, essentially make a play. That's what I assume that. What I'm
saying is that the defense did not show me they could stop them. So, like, score as quick as you can, because that way, if you stop them, you're going to have to stop them no matter what. And guess what? They did actually have a chance to stop them. Kyle Hamilton dropped the interception.
Right. No, I agree with that. But
that's exactly. But my point is, though, is that with the amount of time that was left, I think you score 6 minutes. They call it 4-minute offense, not 6-minute or 8-minute offense, for a reason. You know what I mean? It's very hard to possess the ball for 6 minutes methodically when a team has 3 timeouts.
I largely agree with what you're saying, but with 4:49 left on a day where it's shaky to kick, I need to see Derrick Henry involved on that drive.
I agree with that. I
need to see you trying to acknowledge. I need to acknowledge that I want there to be as little time as possible left. You got a gift that they went ahead and scored a touchdown, so you got the ball back. But if they didn't want to score a touchdown there and they just rolled, the Ravens weren't going to see the ball again today, because they weren't going to stop them. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. That's not where the game was lost, though.
Oh, it's not the individual spot. I'm not going to say that. Yeah. The defense was the really difficult part about it for me is the number of times that we can get on this defense, but simply say how many times is the ball. The defense in the NFL to me is you've got to make the plays when the plays are there to be made. And the plays were there to be made today. They were. They had every opportunity to change the game. It will remember Kyle Hamilton's because it stands out, but Eddie Jackson. Just before, and Eddie Jackson was awful all day, and they decided that they had heard enough of Marcus Williams, and they were going to turn to Eddie Jackson, and Eddie Jackson stunk too. So now they have a bigger problem, which is they tried to move on from Marcus Williams. This ain't the option either.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
I don't know what you do about that. I really don't. But
Williams back in and he's the one getting paid. He gonna play.
What you do is you make sure your pass rush is better, which is listen, I know that the Ravens are like top 5 in sacks and QB hits, but that doesn't matter, because the other plays, they're not good at the other plays. You know what I mean? Like the normal plays, they don't get enough pressure. Jameis Winston sat back there all day today and just delivered the football. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get 3 or 4 sacks and then the rest of the time they have 4, 5, 6 seconds to make completions. You know what I mean? And also, too, let me say this: Nick Chubb and the other running backs that they had, they would get hit, but they would still get 4 or 5 yards. And I don't know what the final rush yards were, but they were falling forward. Teller and those dudes were moving the line of scrimmage. Look, every time the Ravens play the Browns, not every time, but recently, at least the last 2 games that matter, Glenn, I'm as pissed off as I was when I saw you a year ago when the same thing happened. But the Ravens took off from there. So I'm hoping that maybe history will repeat itself across the board.
Well, I guess, Femi, it's interesting.
I want to say, just real quick, because you mentioned, I looked it up. They had a total of 23 rushes for 80 yards. I think they averaged 3.5 yards a carry. It does not feel that way. It definitely felt like more, but essentially that's the numbers. Nick Chubb had 16 carries for 52 yards. He averaged 3.3 yards a carry.
Yeah,
so.
they decided to throw the ball more. What were Jameis's final numbers?
He
Can someone
had
give me those?
41 completions. I mean,
No, it was 27 of
attempts.
27
I
of
meant to say
41,
attempts.
334 yards.
334 yards.
And 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
3 touchdowns.
Wow.
Should have been 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but what do I know?
And for what it's worth, but he did the thing. Like, he did the thing that everyone knew that Jameis Winston was going to do, which is he threw the ball to the other team. He happily threw the ball to the other team. The Ravens just chose not to do anything with it when he threw the ball to the other team. All praise, like, Jameis deserves credit, right? But there was conspiracy involved in Jameis being able to have the game that he had today, which was he was happy to do what he does, which is just throw the ball. It wasn't just the one to Kyle Hamilton. He threw the ball in the end zone with no receiver anywhere near him, and an interception was dropped in the end zone. Like, this is what he does. Winning this game required you taking advantage of what Jameis Winston does. And the Ravens didn't take advantage of that whatsoever.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Zach Orr because he's getting a worse defense than there was a year ago. And I think he probably knows that this pass rush, they're going to get their sacks and they're going to get their QB hits, but they're not getting pressure enough. They're just not. And he probably has no idea what to do right now.
He definitely does.
They're dropping interceptions. Like, he's probably like, I don't know what to do. He tried to play coverage. It didn't work. He tried to bring pressure. When they don't get there, it doesn't work. When they are there to make the plays, it doesn't work. Like, I guess what you have to do is say, at some point, these plays are going to be made. So I guess I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. But you asked me last week, Glenn, should we go with a DB or a rush guy? I think
I think they desperately, and this goes back to the thing that you and I talk about, which, as much as we all want to sit back and say the Ravens won't pay the outrageous price to get a real edge rusher, like, there needs to be some, there should be some rattling here. I don't want to hear about how the Ravens do business. How the Ravens do business leads you to saying we're just going to keep trying with Owe and Ajabo and hope for the best.
Ajabo was a healthy scratch today.
Yeah, this is what you get. This is what you get.
This is the question that I have. So the Ravens should have scored 41 points today, probably. Aguilar, 2 drops on 3rd down. Okay, look, I'm not going to say all of it. I don't need to. There was a phantom holding call on Lamar on a 15-yard run for a 1st down, got them out to the 40. They ended up punting on that play. The Browns ended up scoring. Another phantom call. And by the way, the refs have nothing to do with today's loss. I'm just saying that it's unfortunate. They blow calls every game. I mean, go ask Minnesota. Nobody's going to cry for the Ravens today. But I just don't understand. Like, how do you get into this place? You know what I mean? Like, you're thinking at some point you're going to, like, get it going, but ultimately it fails. You know what I mean? Whether it's dropped interceptions or dropped catches, like, you can't win games when you do that. So today, to me, it's a completely internal, once again, outcome. Like, it's internal. This has nothing to do with Cleveland being better. It has nothing to do with Cleveland's play calls. It has nothing to do with the refs. It literally is completely self-inflicted. What Bill Belichick has said, I guess the Ravens' biggest threat is the Ravens, and it reared its head again today.
No question.
Yeah, I want to basically add to that in the sense of, really, I'm not unraveling what has happened the previous 5 weeks, because I think going 5 straight is a feat that is absolutely commendable after being 0-2. But it does feel like some steps have gone backwards today. I can't explain it. It just feels that way.
Well, I think the big one that's backwards to me is the offensive line. Like, the offensive line had gelled for the last month, only to be pretty dreadful today. This was always going to be the
biggest test, right? This was always, yes, Tampa did their best that they could last week in terms of, like, blitzing, and for the most part, they stood up to the occasion. But this was always going to be the big test. I think for me, the biggest disappointment is you knew what this was going to be coming into the game, and you did nothing to mitigate it, in my opinion. You did nothing to mitigate it. And that to me is the problem here. Cleveland. This is a divisional opponent. You play 2 times a year. You know who they are. They have essentially not changed. Myles Garrett is still obviously there, and you knew going into this game with the new parts of this line, there was probably going to be some problems, and that they did nothing, in my opinion. They did nothing to neutralize that on a consistent basis. And there's football is not a hard sport, in my opinion. So I don't understand why you got to get cute for results, particularly when you're playing a hard-nosed team like the Browns, when you just need to do the thing. I don't care if I show you all my spades in a game of spades, Glenn, and I say make you beat me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So even if I show you run, so what? That's the part that I don't think I understand, and that's the part that makes this frustrating on the offensive side, because the defensive side is a whole nother mess within itself. So,
well, to me, the defensive side isn't new. Like this is the same stuff you've been dealing with. I mean, for a little while, I think the edge rush was being propped up by Kyle Van Noy playing out of his mind for 3 weeks, and so that did mitigate it a little bit. And I do remember, with all due respect to Brandon Stevens, do you think we're good with communicating?
And that's a lie, because the ball was, before the ball was being snapped,
yes,
you could literally see them still talking to each other.
Correct.
So I don't understand. Why would you lie? Why would you lie when we're watching you literally still talking and the ball is being snapped? See, what I can't stand is a liar, bro. We saw the film. We all watched it.
He's doing what you do for your teammates. You just kind of like say what you need to say. You keep it in house. So that's all good. I get it.
And that part I understand, but the communication's clearly not fine. We all
it's not. No, it's not. Like, definitely not. Like, there's guys moving all over the place on big plays. It happens every week. Like, we've seen it every week now. So, and listen, my expectation for the defense now is not super high. My expectation is they're going to make the plays. They're going to make some big plays every game. Like, they're going to, like, Marlon made big plays. Like, Kyle's going to make big plays. They're going to give up a lot of big plays too, but hopefully they make more plays than they give up. Today they had a chance to make plays. They didn't make them. They lost the game. That's really what it comes down to. And getting way too cute on offense. You hit the nail on the head. You have the best offense in the NFL. You do not need to go horizontal at all. You run at these dudes in 3 wides. You run inside and outside zone. You run zone read. You run QB power. You just do what you do. You keep it super simple. You didn't fucking do that today. And you lost the game. That's what happened. That's it. End of story. There's nothing else to say. That's it. And guess what? My belief is they'll learn from it. Like I said, Glenn, I'm the most purple drinking, purple wearing, purple bleeding, ravenous raven you're ever going to meet. Like, I'm still all on board. Like, no doubt about it. But the critique needs to be made. And I'm hoping somebody internally is going to say, you have the better roster. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be terrible early. You might get 1 yard. You might get 2 yards. Don't get away from what you do best. And if you're going to, and by the way, what they do best is 2 tight ends packed in. Go 3 wides, run the same stuff, just spread them out a little bit. They're not fast enough. They are physical enough, but they're not fast enough to stop you. And every time it came down to speed, they lost the matchup. When it came down to power, they won the matchup. What does that tell you? I did not see the correction. I did not see
get it away.
I did not see the game plan. I did not see. I'm talking about offense right now, by the way.
Yep. Oh, I mean, I'm trying to think if you could argue defensively. I mean, yeah, I guess the defensive line held to the point. The rushing numbers will say the defensive line held. It just doesn't. Boy, it doesn't feel like that because of what you said about the number of times that they made contact and Nick Chubb just kept going right through the contact to pick up another few yards. Make your trip to the game easy by saving the Easy Pass way for tolls. Go to driveeasymd.com. That's driveeasymd.com. And we can only say so many times, like, part of this, it is relevant that there was no Marlon, and it is relevant that there was no Nate Wiggins. And it's part of why I would say I'm not panicked that this is the entire story of the Ravens.
Panic. No, there's no panic.
But I am at the point where what you said earlier, I have thrown out a few times on this show, when we've talked on my show, Reeta on your and I's show, where I've said maybe you don't have to have all that good of a defense and you can just still be a Super Bowl winner. And I think a game like today is a reminder that you need to be better than this. You don't have to have the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense to win a Super Bowl.
This ain't no bend don't
break.
They break it, shorty.
Right, but you
can't give up 29 points to Cleveland though. They're 1-6. You know what I mean? And I understand
the first time that they gave up that they scored 20 points all year, by the way.
Yeah, well, Jameis is better than the guy that was playing before.
Sure.
Remember, I told you
1,000%.
the universe had a correction to make, and they're making it. And I think Cleveland's going to be a much better team going forward, no doubt. I believe that.
I agree.
But the bottom line is the Ravens, even depleted on defense with injuries, and even with whatever strategy they had on offense today, they still had a chance to win, and they didn't. So, I mean, I still think the Ravens are going to win 11 or 12 games. I mean, I still think they're going to win the AFC North. I believe that.
So yeah. I want to talk about you talked about micro earlier, Femi, and obviously this game is the micro, right? I want to bring
about who?
About the game, just about today, right? The micro
okay.
meaning today's game, right?
Yeah, got you.
So, but I'm going to bring up a macro point, which is why what concerns me about this team overall is that going into this game, everybody said the same thing, that this was potentially a trap game because as fans of this team, we know this team very well in and out, and we know when the Ravens are just kind of gonna have a gimme. What scares me about this team each year and each out is this type of game always exists. And I understand it's the NFL, and I understand this is it's a week-to-week league. I'm aware. It bothers me though that we have these conversations beforehand, and then somehow, some way, they come into fruition. So my concern is how do they get over a hump? I don't know how this is possible, because if we're predicting these things and these things happen because they're not changing or doing anything, how does one feel confident when they get to a playoff scenario that this time will be different? And that's what concerns me about this team. I should not be able to predict what I saw today, and yet I was able to do that. So how does that affect them when they get into, oh yeah, we got the number 1 seed, or we're a 2 seed and we're in the playoffs, and then we're back to square one? That it feels like that there's no growth sometimes to me. That's just my opinion.
Well, I know what it feels like, but the reality is that they have the best offense in the NFL. Like, that's still the reality. And one game does not change a resume. And although I'm being highly critical, I will not be a prisoner of the moment. I still think this is a top 3 team in the NFL. Detroit's probably going to vault over them. It's going to be Kansas City, Detroit, Ravens, probably, in my opinion. And they might drop even further back, but it doesn't matter right now. We're going into week 9. What all these power rankings and shit are irrelevant. I just know that more often than not, when it matters, the Ravens win. And when it matters, more often than not, they show up. But to make your point, Reeta, is that this is about winning a Super Bowl. And I said this last week, I don't care about what happens. I care about a clean game and eliminating plays and play calls that lead to giving the other team an opportunity. And I have not seen what I need to see yet to convince me that they're going to win a Super Bowl. I haven't seen it yet.
It's week 8, by the way.
Yeah,
it's week 8.
Yeah. But my point is that the trajectory is still upward. And what did I say last week? I said that this is 18 weeks of examinations. You have 17 examinations in 18 weeks. And the score on each examination doesn't need to be the best score. It just needs to trend in the right direction. And they're trending in the right direction. They just won 5 games in a row. Other than the Chiefs, I think they have the longest win streak, second longest win streak in the NFL other than the Chiefs, right? Do I think that this is a precursor for something more maladaptive or negative? I don't think so. I know they play Denver here next week. Denver's got a good defense.
Really good defense.
They've got a challenged offense, but if they learn what they need to learn and they get the guys back they need to get back, do I expect them to win that game and win it convincingly? I absolutely do. And we'll be having a different conversation next week. But I understand that we are talking about today's game, today's decisions, today's play calls, today's personnel groupings, and the players that were on the field today. And with all that said, they still could have won the game today. If Kyle Hamilton holds on to that ball, they run the clock out. Game's probably over, right? We agree on that?
The Browns still had 3 timeouts left, so we can do the goofy stuff. But yes,
so maybe Derrick Henry comes in and plays.
Yes, I would like to hope That if you're trying to run the ball there, and I like with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, you get one first
Yeah,
down and the game
I'm
is
gonna
over.
exactly.
Yes.
So okay, so that's my point. With all that being said, they still had a chance to win the game. Everything that went wrong today to allow the Browns to win happened. 4 dropped interceptions, dropped third down by Nelson Aguilar. Lamar overshoots Zay, which should have been a touchdown.
Bateman
Like
having a ball hit his face.
Bateman, yeah, I mean, damn. Like everything that could have went wrong today. So like I know we're all upset because we're all spoiled and we all have high expectations, but at the end of the day, when I get back to my normal self, I'm still going to be optimistic and positive because I know what this team can be and what they can do. So I'm not going to lose sight of that, but I agree with this point, Reeta. Today felt like a step backward, and parts of the Tampa game also felt like a step backward, but they were able to overcome it. So like the last 2 games for me, the decision making, the play calling, the blown like dropped interceptions. I mean, I think they have 6 in the last 2 games dropped interceptions. I think that's what it is. I'm not exaggerating. I think they have dropped 6 picks in the last 2 games. If you want to be a Super Bowl champion, you've got to catch 4 of those 6, in my opinion. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, and with the point being, if you catch one of them today, you probably win. And
you definitely win.
Right. Like, and that really is what this comes down to, is you have the opportunity to make the plays. You're not making the plays. Femi, remind everybody about BetYard AI before I dive into the comments.
Yeah, I mean, betyardai.com. Hey, honestly, it's hard to talk about it right now because we're talking about real life stuff and talking about people gambling and making money. But real talk, we're good at what we do. Betyardai.com, 7 of 9 last week on our high confidence picks. If you bet with us, you would have made money last week. We use AI to make in-game predictions. Sorry, pre-game predictions on the spread and the point total. We've been excelling at it for a couple years now. Full teams out of Hopkins. Yeah, sorry, dude. It's hard for me to push a business right now when I'm, like I said, I'm the most purple bleeding, purple drinking, purple wearing, Ravenous Raven you're ever gonna meet. So like money and like all that shit doesn't really matter to me right now. But yeah, if you want to make some money betting, fucking go to betyardai.com. Yeah.
Here's what we're gonna do in the future, in case the Ravens lose a game. I'm gonna have a different read for BetYard AI, and I'm just gonna do it. And it's gonna be far more mechanical. It'll be far more just reading off a script because I understand, bro. I get it. As you'd imagine, the comments, it's about the same. From Brian, I'm disgusted. Not even so much about the defense, which was abysmal, but more about the drop passes and missed interceptions. It's the biggest story of the game.
And the missed field goal. And the missed field goal. I mean, come on, dude.
I mean, the missed field goal wasn't great. There's no doubt about it. The missed field goal was not great.
Because they're basically in field goal range. Anyway, sorry. All
right. Yeah, these are the YouTube comments. Dropped 3 interceptions. How is that on Zach Orr? Okay, you walk me through that, Femi, because there's no way that a dropped interception is on Zach Orr. That's obvious.
Yeah, definitely. It's not on Zach Orr. I mean, Zach Orr has been handed a defense that lost 4 important staff members, lost a couple defensive players that are important, and everyone's asking him to work his magic. I mean, what do you want this man to do? The best you can do is be a bend but not break defense, which they've done pretty well when necessary. And the Buffalo game showed us, to me, when everyone's healthy, what they can be. I don't think they've been healthy before or since, but when they have all the parts, I think they can be very, very good. But Zach Orr has done what he can do in regard to mixing blitz and coverage. And if the defensive guys just make the interceptions they're supposed to make when they're there, 3/4 of them, we're having a totally different conversation. And if the offense doesn't get cute and do stuff to give the ball back, and by the way, the offense is outstanding, but you have to know your personnel and you have to know your team. You got to make play calls mindful of what's happening on the other side of the ball. And this goes back to the Tampa game. And I said this in real time when it happened. I don't know if that was a Lamar check where it was a lateral throw backward or if it was a Monken call. I don't know. Either way, you can't do it. You just got to run the ball. And I think today in the 4th quarter, you just got to run the ball. You got to give the ball to Derrick Henry. And you got to understand, and I know they know this, like I'm not going to say anything that they don't know. You cannot run into the teeth of a defense that excels in 2 tights packed in, defense and think that you're going to do something that no other team has done against them. Yes, line up in 3 wides, line up in spread, even with 2 tights, detach your tight end, and then run the ball. Create space. They're not good in space. They're not good in speed. But guess what? They're good at physicality. I told you this last year, Glenn, and I'm saying it again. Mm-hmm. The Browns are the most physical team the Ravens are going to play. And that I don't give a shit. I'm counting Pittsburgh too. The Browns are the most physical team. They always have been. They've showed me this. I've said this. They display it every time. Now, is Pittsburgh equally physical? Maybe. And okay, let me not start talking about Pittsburgh right now because I'm going to start that. But my point is,
we got about a couple weeks away for that.
Yeah. Okay, my point is though is you have to know your opponent, and in my opinion today, it just felt like there was a stubbornness on offense, and that stubbornness has a bit of an echo back to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. In my opinion, I'm just going to say that.
I
agree.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm trying to go through because most of the comments that we're getting are all about the same, and we're all feeling the same way. And I don't know how to take it forward. So let me go this way, Femi, because if it's not, and Reeta, I'll run the same. Actually, I'll run this to you first, because we said earlier that look, I'm in favor of you make the crazy trade, go out and be bold. This is the year to do it. Is it enough? If the answer for them is let's bring back Jadeveon Clowney, is that enough to you, Reeta, that it makes a difference and changes what this defense is?
I don't know, Glenn. Because the interior part of the line ain't good. That ain't really getting a lot of pressure either. I don't know the answer to that. That doesn't mean I don't think that they should go get one. I want to be clear on that. I don't know though. I don't know the answer. But
I think the issue is the interior pressure. Yeah. That's what I see,
or lack thereof.
Yeah, that's the issue. It's not the edge. I don't think it's it's a collective effort, but I don't think it's the edge guys. I actually think it's the interior more than the edge. But it's okay. Let me reverse. They all play. The front 4 are there to get pressure, and however you want to mix it, it's not enough. It's not enough right now. I don't give a damn what the stats say. I watch every game. I watch every play. It is not enough. And last year was a different universe compared to this, in my opinion.
Is it enough if they add Jadeveon Clowney back?
If you can get Jadeveon, you go get Jadeveon because his salary is definitely palatable. Not. Yeah, it's not Max Crosby salary, but in my opinion, you go get Max Crosby if you can. In my opinion,
go do something you never did before.
Yeah. So
I mean,
I don't know.
I'm of the agreement, and yes, as pointed out by Ken McCusick, there is an issue too that we don't talk about today, which is they were down 2 more interior linemen with Brent Urban and Michael Pierce both getting hurt, and that did unquestionably hurt their ability to get pressure up the middle with those 2 guys also being out. And it's all coming down to Travis Jones, right? Like it's all coming. The injuries are a big part of it. Femi, Reeta was asking a question earlier, and I just want to pose it. I think one specific way that fans, and a few of them in the comments are looking at it, is the playing down to the opponent thing. The thing that there is no science behind. It's nothing more than a feel, but it's something we hear all the like. It just feels like the Ravens constantly play up for good opponents, but regularly play down for inferior opponents. Is that just what we say because you're frustrated that they lose a game? Or is there an amount of truth to playing down to inferior opponents as you've watched this over the years?
Man, history tells me, based on the fact that the Ravens have like the 3rd or 4th best record in history since their inception.
Yeah, they've had to beat a lot of bad teams too. In order to do that.
And the fact that they've been the number 1 seed 2 of the last 5 years or 6 years, right? Like, it's the NFL. I think games are a lot closer than people think. And when you see a blowout, you kind of feel like, oh, there more games are blowouts than not. I just think that there are plays to be made, and either you make them or you don't. And when you don't make them, it gives every team in the NFL a chance. And today we talk about 3 or 4 drop picks. I think the game is totally different if you get those interceptions. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's so much as playing down to a team, because I think there's a lot of variables that come into play. Like, were the Ravens at full power with all their players today? Clearly not on defense. They weren't. I mean, that's a fact. So I'm reluctant to say, first of all, I'm not a feel person. Like, I recognize feelings and I'm mindful of that, but the data I don't think would bear that out. But I do recognize that in the moment that we feel a certain type of way about something. But if we look at when the Ravens win and when they don't win, when they win, they make all the plays they're supposed to make. And when they lose, you know, and I don't necessarily think it's about good teams or bad teams, but what I will say is that the Ravens have a way of showing up in prime time in all circumstances. That's a fact. Like, I mean, the numbers bear that out, right? But I think that the divisional games are always tighter than we want them to be. And I think that's the thing that is moving people's opinions a bit, is like Cincinnati got blown out today by Philly. You know what I mean? And it's always going to be tight with Cincinnati and Baltimore. It's always going to be tight with Cleveland and Baltimore. It's always going to be tight with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. No matter what the records are, they see a 1-6 team and they expect the Ravens to win by 10 or 14. And the reality of it is that they could have won by 4 today and we would have all been happy, but that's not what happened. The plays that needed to be made when they needed to be made by the players that needed to make them did make the plays that needed to be made. That's what happened today. That's it. There's no, I don't feel anything about it. It's a fucking fact. It's just reality.
I get it. Well, I think the same. If Jameis Winston throws that ball, Kyle Hamilton has to pick it. If Patrick Mahomes throws that ball, it doesn't matter who's on the other side. When you have the opportunity to make that play, it doesn't matter who threw the ball. You have to make that play. So I don't know that it's the opponent that mattered in that moment. It's that you failed. And
it's not the opponent. And you're hitting the nail on the head, Glenn. It's the opportunity in the game against the players that you're playing against. And when it's Kansas City, it feels like, oh, what an opportunity. And then when it's Cleveland, you're like, oh, you blew that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think we're saying the same thing.
We are, for the most part. Hey, the Arthur Millette show, it's not going to be November 4th for the next Arthur Millette show. We're working on the date. We should have it in the next day or two to be able to tell you when the next Arthur Millette show will be, and we will get you more information about that. And you'll be able to find it at PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. Just letting you know, it's not going to be November 4th for a couple of different reasons, mostly because the Ravens are playing on Thursday night that week, and I'm expecting that on Monday night they're going to do a later practice, and we're going to end up like figuring out that we have to do a 9 o'clock show. So just letting everybody know we're going to bump that show back probably to Tuesday, November 12th, but we will confirm that here in the next couple of days. Back to the comments, and Jonathan is very passionate. This defense, there's no excuses, and please don't sugarcoat it. They have no outside rushing. The outside corners and inside have no idea where they should be. They're always they are always when on defense running down the field. I don't know what you meant to say there, Jonathan. They never have their heads towards the ball. This has to do with some of the players, but at the end of the day, coaching needs to step up. And as far as the penalties are concerned, this is the most undisciplined team when it comes to penalties. It's absolutely embarrassing. Femi, I know you have talked a lot about cleaning things up. The numbers penalty-wise are not even as egregious as they've been in some other games this season, but certainly some of the specific penalties, like the one on Ronnie Stanley that backed them up into 3rd and 8 and ultimately turned that into a 50-yard kick instead of a 45-yard kick, do stand out. It's not as if penalties weren't part of the story today.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're getting beat down on certain things where our expectations now are just like, please just be good enough. You know what I mean? And I agree, the discipline is not where it needs to be. The point that I made a couple of weeks ago is that I'm just waiting for a clean game, right? A clean game. A clean game that you make the plays you're supposed to make. That means no drop passes on passes you're supposed to catch. And like, you pick the receiver that you want to mention right now. Also, obviously, catching the interceptions that are thrown right at you, right? And obviously no turnovers and no fumbled snaps. Today we had no fumbled snaps. And I know Lamar threw a couple balls up to give his guys a chance, but they weren't picked. And Lamar's touchdown to interception ratio is, I think, top 3 or 4 in the NFL. So
Yes.
I'm not too worried about that. Nobody should talk about Lamar at all, and I haven't heard anyone talk about Lamar, by the way. But I think today's issues for me still fall back to my biggest issue, which is pressure by the pass rush, penalties on offense that are unnecessary, and probably. Oh, did I say the dropped interceptions yet? Did I say that already?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Anyway.
Yeah. There were a couple. There were a couple of those.
Just a couple.
Yeah, there were a
no,
couple
I
of
know.
those. Yep.
I'm trying. I think I've said what I need to say, and I
Yep.
feel like I don't want to be redundant and beat the same drum all over again. I still have a massive amount of confidence in where we're going and how we're going to get there. Today was just an unfortunate setback. I mean, I didn't think the Ravens were going to just like run the table from here out, but today was a game that I knew would be tough, but I expected them to win, and it's just disappointing because it was there for the taking, even with the issues.
This is good from Dave, by the way. Dave says the reason why I'm still more in favor of trying to acquire a safety than an edge rusher is because of what we saw at the end of the first half. Kyle Hamilton is able to get in and make that strip sack, and when he's playing close to the line of scrimmage, it's better for this team. It feels like there is less and less of that because of the lack of faith that they have in their other safeties. Kind of hard to argue that at the moment.
I agree 100%.
I don't know the argument. All I know is that when I feel the times that I feel like that they should be blitzing, they don't. And the times I feel like they shouldn't, they do. I'm not there, so I don't know the answer. But I know that you get results when Kyle Hamilton is there. That's what I know.
Yeah, I'd rather at this point. I feel like you got to go out. Like if you're gonna, a slow death is not what I want. Like let me chop my head off. Like let's go out guns blazing.
I'm the same way. Yep.
Like the more time, like Jameis Winston, you give him time. His issue is he hasn't played a lot lately. So my thought is let's accelerate his progression and reads. Like let's put him under pressure. Let's make it more difficult. And
Thank you.
But I also understand the other side of it. Like I understand the dilemma that Zach Orr is in. You know what I mean? I do. Like nothing's working. I like let's pull up the defensive rankings right now. Like what other than run defense?
Yeah, run defense is still good. Yeah.
And that run defense, in my opinion, is a little bit misleading because the Ravens have been up a lot. You know what I mean? Like when they're up a lot, when you're up a lot, the teams are going to throw. What's their pass defense? 30.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here in 1 second. Sorry.
Because I feel like is when teams commit to running the ball, I feel like they can. I do. I mean, I watched Tampa do it. Today was weird because I'm wondering if there was a couple plays that smushed down that yard per carry average. But guess what? They figured out like we'll go play action and we're gonna have success, and that's what Cleveland did. So
to your point, and this is not updated, I don't believe, but coming in today, the Ravens had allowed the most passing yards in the NFL this season.
So for me, my issue with the timing and when they decided to actually get pressure is where you said, I think Femi is like, for me, I'm not trying to let Jameis get confidence after every series. I would have came out with my guns blazing. I would have made you feel uncomfortable from the jump, so then you can see ghosts. And I just didn't feel like that was something that they had no intention of doing. And to me, that is problematic, particularly now when you have a Michael Pierce and a Brent Urban that goes out, and now your interior line is already struggling because they don't have the depth there. Well, now I don't want this guy to get comfortable, and that I struggled with that a lot today.
I keep, it's funny because I keep coming back to the comments where I got guys like Jay, like everybody wants this to be about the game plan, and we said that we had some issues with the game plan to begin with, but like I just don't know. Again, the plays are there to be made. They're there.
Oh, for sure. So obviously we know that the execution is a big part of the problem here today, particularly on defense, right? I don't think we're absolving that by talking about the other things, though, are we? I mean, like, do you think that's like, do you think we're losing the plot if we talk about the other parts? I'm just asking.
I think it's the obsession with it. I think that it goes back to it's always easier to say that everything's about the coaching staff, or it's easier about like I think that they could have had a better game plan, particularly to the point you both made offensively today. Yes, I have questions about this defense as a whole? I sure do. I'm just not sure what the game plan is that improves your opportunity to catch the ball when it's thrown to you. I
Yeah, no,
don't
I agree.
know. I don't know.
I agree with that.
No, yeah, no, Glenn, to make your point, I agree with you. But both things can be true.
Sure.
And the overall game plan on offense today, I did not like it. Let me be honest with you. Lamar bailed out Coach Monken today. Lamar got out of the pocket. He created opportunities to get the ball downfield, and the receivers let him down. I believe that. And I also believe that Derrick Henry was underused in 3 wides today and spread. That's what they should have been doing, in my opinion. Coach Monken knows more offense than I'm ever going to know. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I know more than him. I'm not saying that. The point that I'm trying to make is that I still think they get too cute. Today, what I text you today in the first second quarter.
Oh, we all
Today's
felt it. Yep.
punch the clock game. It's not about getting cute. It's about mano, putting your guys out there. It's not about motion and any of that shit. It's literally about run what you do well, put them in positions that they're not comfortable in. To me, the Browns defense is not comfortable when you spread them out. With all that being said, the Ravens scored 24 points today, could have easily scored 41 points today. They gave up 29, probably should have given up 17, in my opinion, because of the players, even with the game plan that was executed today, even with that. That's the point that I'm trying to make, is that it is ultimately a collective effort. And across the board today, it wasn't good enough. The only person, in my opinion, probably, I think Derrick Henry did the most he could do with the opportunities that he had. And I think Lamar did the same. Other than that, Aguilar dropped the third down. Bateman dropped a 50-yard catch. I think Zay was pretty good. Mark Andrews was pretty good. Isaiah played hard. Lamar was under pressure for sure a little bit today. Offensive line was okay, but they did score 24 points. You know what I mean? In a typical season, 24 would be good enough for the Ravens to win a game against a 1-6 team, especially.
Yep.
Now I know it's a divisional game, and I understand all the extenuating circumstances. Jameis Winston is not your typical backup. He was a number 1 pick.
Yes, he was.
Okay. So, and we know that he has more touchdown passes than interceptions in his career, but he'll throw it up there, and we all
know.
And he did, and you didn't take advantage of it. So Once again, this is an internal issue in my opinion. This is not about talent. This is not about players availability. It's not about players availability. It's literally about the finer points today. I think there could have been, to Reeta's point, I would have loved to have seen them go like, hey, we're playing zero coverage. We're going cover 1. We're going to bring pressure all day, and we're going to live and die by that today. And on offense, we're going to play a punch the clock game. The last 2 games, I think the Ravens have been out time of possession, I believe, the last 2 games. That very rarely happens. And maybe Griffin can look and see, but
it definitely was last week. I can double check on it today.
Okay, all right. I think today too, if I have to guess.
No, I think you're right, but
it was today, definitely. Yeah, it was like 31.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so that's not how we win games. Like, that's not what we do. And I just don't understand, where was the Lamar runs today? Like, where was, and I know we said this earlier, but we've been on for like an hour now.
Yep.
But like today, I said, I don't know if I texted it to you guys or not, but I thought like today's going to be a Lamar game. Lamar's going to, and the crazy thing was, Lamar didn't have to use his legs as much, and he had a couple runs that were negated, but that's neither here nor there. But even with his arm, he put the ball in places for dudes to help him out today, and they did not help him out today. And I know I've said this already. There's nothing else for me to say at this point, honestly.
I get it.
I think I'm done talking.
I think we're tapped at the one point that was just made in the comments. Jabo, this loss will come back to bite us later in the year. It's an AFC loss and a division loss. Can't make these mistakes with the Steelers playing as well as they are. That is the one thing about losing specifically this game and the Raiders game. Like, this really could end up being the difference in where not only the AFC Championship game is going to be, but where the divisional playoff game is. And I
mean, you have 3 AFC losses at this point. Every single loss that you have are AFC losses. So this is obviously not. We love talking about this NFC record shit, right? But I would much rather it be 3 NFC losses than 3 AFC losses any day of the week. I don't care about that, and Lamar probably doesn't either, quite frankly, because how does that help you in your own conference, right? So they're in a hole. When we start talking about playoffs and seeding, they are in a hole. They are in a 3-loss AFC hole.
That's fact. It's fact.
They still have another Cincinnati game, 2 more Pittsburgh games, and another Cleveland game to go in this division alone. So, I mean, I don't even know like where you look. This team is too good to. I agree that they're good. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, this might come to bite them in the ass when it comes to seeding.
Let's do this real quick. My opinion is that the Ravens get in that ass against Denver next week. That's my opinion. I don't give a damn what Denver does today.
I think they're gonna be mad. I think they're gonna be mad. 100%.
So if they're 6-3 next week, all is well. I don't give a damn. All is well. If they're 6-3, all is well, because 6-3 is a damn good record. We'll take that.
All right,
who is a Broncos fan, and he already said, I wish I would have won today, because now you're gonna be my ass next week.
Let's do our top 5. Experience the thrill of live betting with the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. Green Turtle Sportsbooks, the ultimate destination for game day excitement and in-person betting. Now, I acknowledge I have not looked at like any other game today other than the Ravens game. So
I saw a few.
As we do top 5, like it might be that I'm missing something or not impacted, but I'll go ahead and start, and I'll keep Kansas City 1, and I'll keep Detroit number 2. From there, I have no earthly idea who should be number 3 on this list. I think it defaults back to Houston, even though, heck, they weren't even all that impressive, but I don't know who should be number 3 on this list. I'll say Houston, Baltimore, Green Bay, and maybe I'll feel differently about Washington later. And I guess that Green Bay thing is dependent on, I don't know if we've got a story on Jordan Love and what his injury is, but not knowing that Jordan Love is out long term, I'll keep them in the top 5. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I'll go. I think my uncertainty with Jordan Love pushes them out of my top 5. So as of right now, I'm going to go with the Ravens at 5. Unfortunately, they put me in this position. I don't know what to do here. I'm going with Philly at 4. I'm impressed by how they beat down Cincinnati on the road. 3, I'm going to go with Houston. I'm still putting KC at 2 because I'm not a believer. I know they won all those championships. I just hate the way they look on offense. I can't do it. And then Detroit just manhandled their opponent today, so I keep them at my 1.
Griffin, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure, I can go next. So yeah, I'm obviously Kansas City, Detroit. I think I'm gonna keep the Ravens at 3 even after today. Just because I just haven't been too overly impressed by anybody else. I'll have Green Bay at 4 because they were able to get the win. Just even with Malik Willis playing, they run the ball really, really well. And then I'm going to go Washington number 5. I know they're playing right now, so that can obviously change. But if Jaden Daniels is healthy, they look like a very good team. They're playing good defense right now too. Stephon Diggs got hurt, so I don't know how much I trust Houston, especially after only barely getting by the Colts, who I don't know.
Oh snap! What's his name got hurt too, didn't he? Buffalo's old wide receiver. My brain.
Amari Cooper?
No, that's what the Texans.
Diggs. He just said that.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear him say Diggs. I'm sorry. My apologies. Yeah. He had a knee injury, so I'm sorry, Griffin. I didn't. I thought you said something.
I did not know that, and that would affect me. But go ahead.
He got a knee injury. Yep.
Femi?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Eagles. Eagles 5. I'll go Green Bay 4, Houston 3, Detroit 2, Kansas City 1. Ravens are not in my top 5 right now. Yeah, no, I can't do it.
It be like that sometimes. Yeah,
I'm just keeping it real. They're right there. They can make up for it next week, but I just don't want like what I've seen in the last 2 weeks. And to be honest, I like it when they're not in the top 5. I like looking at that and seeing them just kind of like be lion.
Yeah.
Like I like lions and cheetahs. I like big cats. You know what I'm saying? And I like birds too. I do. But I like scavengers, and Ravens are scavengers. Like we feed off of dead carcasses. You know what I mean? And right now, we're acting too bougie right now. I'm not feeling it. So I'm not putting them in my top 5 right now. But they can beat anybody. I know that for a fact. But what I'm doing is more psychological, probably for me than anybody else. Do I think they're one of the top 5 teams in the NFL? Yeah, I think they are. But I'm just going to go back to I'm going to get in my feelings real quick. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, we're allowed to.
I'm going to put them at 6 right now.
By the way, thank you, Chris. We did not really talk about the fact that they were 2 for 10 on third down today.
Oh, nasty business.
2 for 10. 2 for 10. That
Second,
ain't gonna.
second in the league prior to today's game.
Yeah,
So
No, I think they were number 1 in the league before today's game.
Yeah.
I thought the lower third said second. So yeah, well, I know that they were good.
They were very
terrible.
good. Yep. 2 of 10. Yuck. Yuck. That is brutal. All right, make a trip to the game easy by saving the Easy Passway for tolls. Go to driveeasymd.com. That's driveeasymd.com. Yeah, sorry, KZ and Stecca were both on the road today. And Josh has been working this season. He did let me know that. That's been part of the problem for him. But such is life, and appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Reeta and I are Wednesday night over on 105.7 The Fan from 6 to 8, and Femi will be with Griffin and I tomorrow morning on GCR. It is what it is, man. Like sometimes it bees this way. There's nothing else to say as the Ravens lose. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Project Game Day has been made possible by 1-800-GAMBLER and helpmygamblingproblem.org. We will see you next Sunday following Ravens Broncos.